Kevin, Antron, Yusuf, Raymond, Corey. God bless you, lovely men. Like, share, comment, subscribe. It's BroodByReanne. When they see us, I am now doing a second recording for when they see us, because the first recording I did like 2 weeks ago, I tried over and over and over, and I was having an issue with upload. I didn't even get to upload it to YouTube yet. I was having an issue with getting it from the software I'm using to be saved to my device, whether it's my phone or my iPad. And I don't know what's going on, but it was giving me a weird error message, and I'm just like, I don't think right now I can mentally rewatch the series. I do have a Netflix subscription, and I put it on my, watch list. I'll always, go back to it one of these days. But so I kept notes anyways from the first time. That's how it looks. Okay. Well, so I have notes from each part, so I'll just go off of that. If you didn't know, now you know. It's RC from BroodByReanne. Let's get into it. Part 1. I started off by saying kids being kids because they're kids, and people are wanting to change life, rechange reality, what, because they're black, because they're Spanish. So even if they're a kid, they can't be in the park at night. That makes them guilty. Oh, whoa, there were black kids at the park, so they must be up to no good. Like, really? So you don't remember how it felt years ago when you were a kid hanging out with your friends? I don't think you felt guilty hanging out with your friends at parks or wherever y'all hung out, and you wouldn't want to be harassed when you're just hanging out with your friend. I understand wrong place, wrong time, but they were just hanging out. And the funny thing is, in the end, they weren't even friends. They were there with other people, and when, the cops came, they scattered, and, people got grouped up with other people, you know what I mean? So, it's just crazy. Let's start with the cops chased them around the park, and then the reason why I wanted to mention that is because some people will say, well, why did they run if they're innocent? Is that really a real question? Why did they run? They're black. They already know they're guilty before being proven innocent. That's why all of them ran. They're like, oh, shoot. I'm black. I'm a male. I already see how this could go. Let me get out of there. That's what people were doing. It's just the luck of the draw who got caught by the cops, got caught, grabbed up, put in the van or whatever, taken to the station. Those who were able to run fast, they were very, very lucky. The interrogation rooms. Just needed a moment to compress. There were different parts of the docuseries that I could not hide my emotion, could not hold my tears any longer. In the interrogation rooms. The terror, the fear, the good cop, the bad cop. You know, these kids made up stories based on the cops, manipulating all of them. Wow. The most powerful line was that Raymond, young Raymond, told his dad outside the interrogation room, whatever he said, I did. I didn't. I think his dad said, I know. Whose dad is this? I think this is Kevin's dad. No. I'm sorry, Kevin. I mean Antron's dad. They lie on us. They lock us up. Kill us. And he didn't want, no one to kill his son. He didn't want his boss to know about his criminal past. He wanted to secure his job for his wife, his child. He felt forced, and everybody was in rushed emotions, and in that moment he felt forced that he had to help the cops, reel his. It's like they're reeling these kids in. They're working them. You hear that phrase from a lot of people. They're working them. They really were. It's abusive. It's horrible. I believe, fast forward to like the current, I believe they're trying to pass a law to get it where if you're a minor, the cops have to film all of the interrogation in the interrogation room. And it should have been like that from day one. It sucks that people's lives have to be ruined for laws to be put into place, but I just don't understand how someone can sleep at night taking advantage of a child. Like, that's crazy to me. That's wild. Antron's dad felt forced to convince his son to confess to a crime he did not commit. He believed him without a shadow. But he still went ahead and did what the cops say to do. And, as a kid, you're taught to just emotional. As a kid, you were taught to, honor thy mother, thy father. This is from the Bible. I'm a Christian. And if your parents are telling you to do the wrong thing, it's like so manipulative too. And the poor boy probably just felt manipulated from everybody. Just my daddy manipulated me, the cops manipulated me. I can only imagine. Just wish this story wasn't true. I mean, in the sense of like, I wish that none of this would have ever happened to these kids. It's so heartbreaking. It's so thought-provoking. It really makes you think about a lot. Like, you want to trust cops. You want to see everyone as good people, but these are not feasible things, based on what happened to these young boys. Like, there's some deep-rooted issues in the justice system with the lawyers, with everybody. Because can't nobody tell me I have you as a lawyer and you're telling me they almost basically, you don't even basically believe my innocence. I should just plead guilty. And them people ain't got no evidence I did something wrong. Like, that's the worst, when someone doesn't believe you. And I can tell each and every one of these young men, I believe you. Infinity. It's messed up, man. A lot of people don't give flack to the media. They talk about Donald Trump, They talk about the corrupt justice system, but what about the media? The media fuels our minds. That's why I stopped watching a lot of the TV news, and I listen to a lot of, I listen to radio more, whether it's Sirius XM, regular local radio. I listen to YouTube, Young Turks, Jesse Dollamore, the Dollamore, you know. So many different rational, national. I listen to so many different. I put my subscriptions private, but if they weren't private, you would have been able to see all the type of people I'm subscribed to. There's a bias on TV, man. Because remember, the bosses for these TV shows, these producers, their bosses as well. It's all about the money. They're getting paid to run a narrative. I saw it when Cenk was on MSNBC. Cenk couldn't be Cenk. Cenk is from, he's the owner of the Young Turks. I was so proud to see him on MSNBC, to see him on current TV. It's like, yeah, you go, boy. But when you're on these networks, you can't be yourself. And that's horrible. That's a horrible life to live. And I really feel like the media is an equal blame to the crooked justice system, to what happened to these young men and other men in similar situations. The media is the first level of information that people get. Before they hear what these young boys are saying, before they hear anything, they're listening to these newspapers, these TV shows, and they just did not do their jobs, which is basic journalism. Do y'all remember journalism? I can talk about this because when I was a kid, when I was in high school, 9th and 10th grade, not a lot of people know this, I wanted to go to FAMU. Not because it's a black school, because it's a school of journalism. When I was in 9th and 10th grade, I did journalism 1 and 2. As a kid, as a young person, your mind changes about what you want to be. But I, at one point, wanted to be a journalist, and I think I would have been a really good one. I'm a good writer, I was also writing for the newspaper at the time at my high school. It was so cool to be, see your stuff in there. I got to give the media like a couple minutes, and I'm glad I did, because a lot of people are not talking about how big of a deal the media had. In my notes here, I said the media can be the devil sometimes. Corey was beaten into a confession. As they said, he was the glue to put this nonsense story together. Racism at its finest. When will we wake up, people? When will we wake up? The boys finally met each other. And that was hard to watch. Part 2. It was a moment for me, being such a TV buff, movie buff, 90s buff. Let's take a moment for Joshua Jackson, y'all. Dawson's Creek, Mighty Ducks, the list goes on. This young man is very talented as a child star, and it was nice to see him as a part of this. It meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me what he said when he spoke with Oprah in the Netflix interview they did. for the cast of When They See Us and the Exonerated Five. There was a moment where he told the other lawyer, I'm glad you can join us. The lawyer for, I think it was Raymond, he was just, man, boy. That's not where it was at. I'm like, this guy's not gonna help you. But there was a time where he finally woke up, and I think, as Raymond put it, like, he finally realized, like, he didn't do it. He didn't do it. Like, you guys didn't do this. Like, why do you now know this after you've said stuff already? You should know this before you go in the courtroom and say nothing. Oh, man. It's tough. It's a tough world. Now, it was going good for the boys, and then there was a scene where Antron's dad, in here I called him the coward father, I know he's gone now, rest in peace to him. I know Antron and him, Antron is having a hard time. And I'm just flashing back. I got super emotional just flashing back to the interview with Oprah, and where Antron is just making the whole cast just cry so bad, because when you're close with your parents and you see other people struggling with relationship with their parents, like it's you understand why, but it's tough. It's tough to see that. We as humans, we even myself, I wish peace for everybody. I want everyone to have peace. And we can tell Antron, Mr. Antron, is not in peace. He's a broken man, and it would make me happy if one day Antron would be in peace and no longer broken. That would be awesome. Awesome. So the bad news, everything came back. There's 2 trials done. Kevin and Corey and the other boys, Yusuf, Raymond, and Antron. So their 2 trials happened. Kevin, guilty. Antron, guilty. Raymond, guilty. Yusuf, guilty. Corey, oh Corey, oh Corey, guilty. We'll talk about more of Corey in part 4. I'm so sorry, Corey. It's messed up. He got the worst of it, y'all. He got the worst of it, and we gonna say that. I understand that all 4 of them went through a traumatic event, but when one person goes through the worst of it, I'm gonna need us to say it out loud, not feel guilty for saying it. He got the worst of it. Part 3, Tris. Let's talk about forgiveness. As they say, easier said than done, right? Let's talk about Antron. He's having a hard time forgiving his dad. He loves his mom to pieces. His mom loves him to pieces. I'm trying to think if anybody else suffered for that as much. Maybe for all of them, their forgiveness struggle would be in forgiving the cops who wronged them, and forgiving Linda Fairstein. You gotta forgive everybody. If you're a Christian, if you believe in God, you gotta forgive. Nobody's saying be a dummy and forget, but we're just saying to forgive, and forgiveness is more for you than the other person. Don't forget that. Grudges. I thought of Antron too. I understand oh so well what it feels like to be wronged, to be betrayed, to be in pain from someone else. From someone else's decision, from someone else's choice. Antron, Gavin, Yusuf, Raymond, Corey. You guys don't need to hold a grudge. I'm telling you, it's... For me, I can say, for me, I got therapy. I went through some things. So, I can speak how I speak now about it. But I understand what it is to hold a grudge. It just weighs on you. It's not fun, it's not smart, it's not wise. It's so much fun to live life when you just live in life. It's not about A, it's not about B. Even if A and B may be affecting your life, but it's not about A, it's not about B. It's about you. Don't never forget that. Now, people's reaction when the four men returned home and how they adapted. I think they all had everybody together had a hard time finding a job, adjusting to the new realities, especially Raymond. Raymond. That woman is wrong, Raymond, to call you a rapist. How dare she? You're married to somebody and you don't respect this, huh? What kind of marriage is that? And then in that moment, I was thinking, like, are they still married? There's no way this guy kept this woman. He definitely chose his son, right? And then Raymond had a recent interview. I've been watching a lot of Raymond interviews, Corey, everybody. And especially Yusuf. So wise, so brilliant. All five of them are brilliant guys. Oh, you can just learn. The gems are just dropping. But Raymond said, somebody asked her, like, hey, are you, are your dad still with your stepmom? And he was like, yeah, they still are married and they live together and all that good stuff. And I was just like, part 4. Get some water. Part 4. In politics, they say stupid things like lock him up, lock her up. And they chant that like it's it's funny. And it's like, you see what Corey went through in part 4. And you wonder, why people commit suicide in jail and prison. When you see what happens behind the scenes, it's horrible. I've seen shows like 60 Days In, I've been watching from day one from that show. I've been watching Cops off and on from a kid to an adult. They don't have it no more as an adult, but they have something called Live PD, similar concept. It's actually even a better version than Cops Live PD. And some other cop shows. Even when they had the cop show where it was the women of Broward County, which is my county, I watched that too. I watched a lot of different ones. And even when they had the Vegas one where they were showing the people that were intoxicated and, you know, just different elements of what goes on in Vegas, right? In this particular show, it did not stay in Vegas. It is definitely not fun to be locked up. I'm gonna need y'all to stop chanting this, lock her up, lock him up, you getting locked up, joking about jail, joking about prison. This ain't a joke. This is not a joke. There's no joke in that lifestyle at all. I know people want to be like, oh, I went to jail, now I have street cred. I understand from cultures, people thinking that's where it's at. It's not where it's at. People get raped in there. People get stabbed in there. People get hurt. People get abused in a lot of ways you don't want to know. I think one of the worst elements of how to see what kind of happens is that 60 Days In show. Me watching from season 1, it's been about 4, 5, 6 years of that show, and it's a roller coaster of emotions, you know, because these people are regular people. They ain't commit nobody's crime. Not that everybody in there committed crime, don't get me wrong, but they're undercover to give information, you know, after 60 days of what goes on with the COs and the, you know, the fellow prisoners. So you just get nervous for them. Like, every time I watch that show, I'm always on edge because I'm like, please don't hurt these people. They're like, they don't know what they're doing. Some of them did good. They fit in good. They found a way to use, maybe if they're black, or they found a way to use their personality. Some use their personality to win over the people so they can like be under the radar and not causing too much, you know, of everybody like looking at you like she acted suspicious. And they have to make sure they don't act suspicious. Like, that's hard to do if you are already so nervous that people are gonna jump you and stuff, right? I'm gonna need y'all to stop joking about jail and prison. Jerome, congrats on your Emmy nomination. Young Corey, Big Corey, Sexy Corey now. No, Corey and Jarrell, both of them are very attractive men. You know, one is 20s and the other one's probably in his 40s or 40 or 41. In his 40s, old enough to be his daddy, right? It was really good, and I know Jarrell must have been so happy, so relieved to know that Big Corey, you know, the real Corey, was happy with his work, was happy with how things went, you know, how he acted, how he did a portrayal. I think he said it was like poetry in motion, if I remember correctly, verbatim. I was like, aww. And he gave him a little like in the, you know, the Netflix interview. And then he wanted this back, and I was like, you guys are too cute. You guys have a little brotherhood that I hope is not for the cameras. I hope it's real, and I hope y'all stay brothers for the rest of your lives. Like, y'all can benefit from each other. Like, after you share an experience like that, you have a bond that nobody will be able to understand. You know what I'm saying? So I hope they stay brothers for real, because, you know, Jarrell looks at him like a brother, and I hope Corey, the real Corey, looks at him as a brother too, like a, you know, he's his younger brother, of course, you know. No matter your age, I think they can learn from each other. It's awesome. Mateus Reyes. Oh, this guy. Long story short, he's the real Central Park everything. Ain't no Central Park 5. It's a Central Park Mateus Reyes rapist. Okay? You want to put that label on somebody, put on somebody that actually did the crime, not somebody you heard about in the 90s possibly doing something. No. With evidence. How you having sex with somebody and you don't even think their son is innocent of a crime that they didn't even commit? Like, you're a horrible human. I've lost some respect for Raymond's dad. I love Raymond, but I lost some respect for your father. The fact that he can stay married to a woman that think you committed a crime you did not commit. I don't have a lot of respect for a human being who does something like that to his child. I mean, I know at the end of the day you gotta love your parent, but that's some cruel stuff right there. That's some real cruel on some like other type of level that I will never understand, because that's crazy. But Mateus Reyes had a chance encounter with Corey. They had a chance encounter again, and in that second encounter, he realized Corey's a good guy. Anybody can see Corey's a good guy. He's a good guy. And he felt bad. Like, dang, Corey's still in here 13 years later, 12 years later, for the crime I committed. Like, let me go tell what I did, man. Let me confess to this priest right now. You know, like, the cops were his priests, and he was just like giving his confessions. You know what I mean? And to find out in reality, like, yes, in the docuseries, it makes it look so simple. Like, he said what he said. They looked into it, and they freed Corey, and they exonerated. They freed Raymond as well, because he was in there for a different charge. He had went back to jail, and then they exonerated all 5 of them. But in real life, we're finding out it took them over a year, or close to a year, for them to believe Mateus Reyes. Like, he went through the crime scene. He told them things only the criminal would know. He gave them his blood, everything, to know, like, his whatever he needed to give them, fluids, so they can match it up with the thing. Everything matched. The semen matched. Everything matched. His prints were all over the crime scene. But somehow they took forever. They dragged this thing. They dragged it, y'all. After they had the proof, they still dragged it. And that's so telling of a racist. Just want to flashback to Joshua Jackson. What Joshua Jackson said at that interview with Oprah and all of the cast for When They See Us, exclusive to Netflix, and I think she has it on her own. The justice system. The word justice, let's go with that. It's the wrong word. I think she was asking him, what did he learn about the justice system, that the word justice is the wrong word. Joshua Jackson, Jarrell Jerome, Michael Williams, Niecy Nash. The list goes on. I'm doing this off top of my head. So many people that did. John, I never know how to say her last name. John L. from Super Mario Brothers, from like most of my favorite movies. Did an amazing job as Raymond's dad. Everybody did an amazing job. It's tough that this is real. It happened to real people. I'm not blaming nobody's parents. I'm just disgusted by the fact that injustice keeps happening over and over and over. Yes, they were given after what 10 years they said. What was it? 12 years? I think in 2002 they sued New York and it took New York 12 years. It takes you another 12 years to figure out what the cops did, what Linda did, what maybe even the judge did. I don't know if anybody talked about if the judge was dirty and crooked. I don't know. That's speculation, but at least the others we know, like evidence, that there's evidence against them that we're aware of as the public. There's probably more stuff about this case that we don't even know as the public that will make the whole justice system go down to the ground. There'll be riots everywhere. When they see us, Ava DuVernay, thank you so much for putting something so beautiful together. 4-part series. I watched it literally like in a day. Others emotionally could not watch it in a day. Not that I could emotionally handle it. I was crying most of the day. But I just wanted to watch it back to back to back to back. I didn't want to forget what just happened, and that could happen. So I'm like, let me just watch it back to back to back, and I'm gonna keep this on my watch list. I already gave it a thumbs up on Netflix. A few months down the line, I would love to watch it again and just take in the story, take in the victory. Exonerated 5. Exonerated 5, y'all. This ain't no Central Park 5 no more. It's Exonerated 5. Exonerated 5.
It won't hurt after a while. Stuck between it